What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Dmitry Salita, Otto and Andy the Destroyer Ruiz. Get this. Andy Ruiz Jr. stood up to Anthony Joshua's power, but Otto can KO him, says promoter Dmitry Salita. Otto gave the toughest challenge to two of the current world heavyweight champions. Promoter Dmitry Salita hopes that Otto can secure a high-stakes showdown with rival contender Andy Ruiz Jr. Andy Ruiz Jr. would be welcome as an opponent for Otto, says the promoter Dmitry Salita. And Otto has the power and the size to break Andy Ruiz's punch resistance in a clash of heavyweight contenders that would make sense, says Salita. The Swedish heavyweight is eager to secure a big-name fight after his career best win over Dominic Breazeale, a dominant points victory in February. Former unified champion Ruiz Jr. sealed a unanimous decision win over Chris Arreola in May, and Salita hopes to guide his fighter Wallin into a high-stakes showdown with the rival Andy Ruiz. And it states, Salita, beating Breazeale the way he did, Wallin shows that how much he has improved since the Fury fight. He says, I am sure his size, skills, and devotion to his craft is making world-class fighters think twice about sharing the ring with him. Otto and Andy gave the toughest challenges to two of the current world heavyweight champions. It makes sense for them to fight, especially if Tyson Fury fights Joshua in an undisputed world fight. Wallin emerged with credit from his only defeat, a bloody decision loss to Fury in September 19th, while Ruiz Jr. stopped Anthony Joshua in June of 2019, only to lose his world titles in an immediate rematch in December of last year. I'm going to stop there. Promoter's job is to promote fights. I get it. You know, Salita is trying to promote Otto versus Andy Ruiz. I see personally nothing wrong with it. I see it's another PBC fight. They're both PBC fighters. I see that fight actually could happen, but at what point? Okay. Otto is a guy that he only has one loss. Andy Ruiz is twice beaten, once to Joshua, the other one to Parker in a split decision loss. Andy Ruiz is by far has the notoriety, although Otto had the buzz around his loss, but that's pretty much all it was. Now, he did seal the deal, and he went out there and handled business against Dominic Breazeale, but then Dominic Breazeale was a guy on his way out, okay? So he fought the top heavyweight versus a guy that's on his way out. Now, does that warrant a fight against Andy Ruiz? My answer is it could be. Why? Because both of these guys, like the promoter said, they both been in there with the two top heavyweights, Joshua and Tyson Fury. So I think with the style of Otto he does have the quickness. It would be an absolute great fight to make. Because unlike Dominic Breazeale, Andy Ruiz has some fast hands. And he would be worried about counters coming from that type of fighter. And I would love to see it. I would love to see it. And I don't honestly think Otto hits as hard as Chris Arreola. And in fact, speaking of Chris Arreola, let me start by giving him credit right now because his power was very underestimated. Okay. And now it is greatly respected. So I must tell people that. Chris Arreola, fair play to him. All credit, comes from him for dropping Ruiz, because Ruiz was one of those guys that were damn near undroppable unless you're getting hit by a very hard heavyweight, right? So the punching power of Chris Arreola is very well respected, okay? Now, can Otto generate that type of power? I don't think that he can, but I don't think that he would necessarily need to. Why? Because I think with the speed of Otto Wallin coming from a southpaw stance, he could catch Andy Ruiz with punches that he's not really familiar with getting caught with. There's a reason he didn't want to fight Otto Ortiz and southpaw himself. Not saying Otto Wallin is slick as Ortiz, even at his age, but he's definitely more durable, has more agility, and definitely younger, right, and ready to go. So I think that would be a fight, really, honestly, Andy Ruiz wouldn't really want to get into. And unfortunately, I also agree with Salita saying that people would think twice by getting in the ring with Otto Wallin now, and especially someone like Andy Ruiz, because he's so high on that totem pole to the point where why risk it? Why would you fight someone like Otto Wallin where you know you were already at the creme de la creme? That's what happens with these fighters, with these boxers, and they know, hey, the best route to this particular fight is to just take it easy and fight whoever is in front of you at the time until we get to that point, because we're damn near there, versus taking a fight with Otto Wallin and you ended up being like Dominic Brazil, and at that time Andy Ruiz, if he loses to Otto Wallin, will be on his way out right behind Dominic Brazil. So I don't see Ruiz really taking a fight like that. It would be great. It would be fantastic, because this is the other guys. These are the rest of these guys that, hey, where do they line up? Where do they stack? You know, the Otto Wallin taking on Andy Ruiz, a southpaw, kind of quick with combinations, taking on an orthodox guy that was once fat, now slimmer, still fast. Where do they go? Where do they last? That's what you would ask yourself. But I don't see that fight happening, and I don't see Team Ruiz taking a fight like that. It would be good, because it would be a name that's just good enough to shut people up. It would. But unfortunately, I don't think they'll go that route, in my opinion. But it would be a good fight. You guys tell me what you think about Otto Wallin taking on Andy the Destroyer Ruiz. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.